Greetings, my friends. Jimmer Lins here with your Source Filmmaker Tip of the Day. Today is Tip of the Day number 60. As always, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I've been gone for a few days, and despite the rumors to the contrary on the steam-powered forums, I am still around. I had to take care of some family business, but that is largely put to bed right now, so we can move on with, hopefully, more regular tips of the day. So with all that said, let's move on. In today's tip of the day, I'm going to take you through a little bit about how to use timescales in your shots. This is something that you have probably experimented with a little bit, but I'm going to show you some tips and tricks on how to manipulate timescales so that you can create interesting effects with sped up or slowed down shots for animation. What I've done is I've created a spy model here, excuse me, and I've just imported one of his taunt sequences. It's the standard, I'm going to gut you like a Cornish game hen one. So that's fun. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to blade a shot here at about 5 seconds. I'm going to hit the B key, and that will blade a shot. So now I have two shots, and there is really no transition between them because everything is identical in both. But the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to show you a couple of ways to adjust the timescale. The first one is really quite simple. If you go in and say Edit Clip, if you right-click the shot and say Edit Clip and then select Set Timescale, you can adjust the timescale. 1 means standard speed. 2 would mean twice as fast. And scale center means does it expand from the middle, or does it expand from the beginning, or does it expand from where the playhead is? And if I click the change duration of the shot, that makes the shot go twice as fast and it shrinks the shot. If I undo that and say Edit Clip Set Timescale, and I set it to 2, and I leave change duration off, what it will do is, because this is an interesting thing about Source Filmmaker, the underlying shot, when I bladed this shot earlier, what I actually did was I clipped it along the lines of where the underlying animation set is. Now, what I just did is I double-clicked on the shot. And when I do that, you can see that this is the spy's animation. So when you think of a shot, one of these shots right here, this is really a window into, you can think of it almost like a sliding window into the underlying animation. If you have an animation sequence that's longer than the one that is, than the shot, it might begin before the shot and it might end after the shot, but the only part that's ever going to actually be recorded in the shot is the bit that's in the shot, which is why you can do things like double click this, and if I wanted, I could drag this around and change the relative location of the underlying animation, which is interesting. If I go back and set the timescale to 1 though, so what the difference is that when I right click and say Edit Clip and Set Timescale, if I hit Change Duration, it will adjust the duration of the shot to match the new scale. So by saying 2, I want it to go twice as fast and take half as long. That means the shot will actually shrink. If I say 2 and don't check the Change Duration box, what will happen is that the shot will, all the animation in it will go twice as fast, but the shot will remain the same length. So if I say, let me just do this again, actually. I'll just set it to 2. And as we can see, when I press play, he goes twice as fast, but even though he's going twice as fast, you're actually seeing this thing happen twice because I got 2 of his sequences in there instead of 1, because the underlying animation, when you import a sequence, it will usually be something like this, because it'll just repeat for a good 30 seconds or so. And as you can see, it begins before the shot starts and it ends after the shot ends. So again, your shots are really more like a sliding window over the existing animation. And it's that shot that defines the beginning and the end of what you're interested in the underlying animation. So that's something to consider when you're doing this, is that you can actually, when you blade a shot, you're actually kind of creating 2 versions of it. And even though I bladed it, it is still the same animation sequence underneath, and I can mix and match a little bit to adjust the timing of some of these things. Now that's one way to set the timescale using the dialog box. Another way is to use the mouse and to drag the edges. If I hit Alt, Control, and Shift, you got to hit all 3. And if you look here, do you see the I'm pointing at the screen again like you people can see me. I'm an idiot. If you look at the mouse cursor, when it is near the end but not over the middle, not over the junction, it turns into a little square box with looks like a little lightning bolt inside it. And then I can drag this, and it will actually change the duration of the shot as well as adjust the scale. So if you notice, remember earlier we did a scale of 2, which was twice as fast. A scale of 0.33 will be 1/3 as fast. So you can see this is a nice slow motion shot. I'm going to get you like... Okay, that's silly. Anyway, you get the idea, is that Control-Alt and Shift with your mouse cursor near the end of this. I'm going to hit Control-Z and undo that change so we can do something different with it. Control-Alt and Shift with the mouse cursor near the end will adjust the duration and the scale, the time of the shot. Control-Alt and Shift with the mouse cursor between the shots, you notice it turns into this I bar with the lightning bolts on both sides. That will adjust the duration of the shot. Excuse me, it will adjust the scale of the shot that way. And it will actually adjust the scale of both shots. Notice how the second one is now faster and this one is now slower. So what we then have is that this shot goes much more slowly, and then this one, because it's a much longer one, it goes a little bit faster. And then Control and I think it's Control Alt and Shift. And if you do it in the middle, you can adjust the scale by dragging it backwards and forwards without changing the duration of the shot. And notice that you've got the 2 bars with the lightning bolts in between and arrows to the sides. So somewhere in the middle of the shot, you can adjust the scale of the shot without adjusting its length, which is similar to using that dialog box technique we talked about earlier. And if you go towards the end of it, you get this square bracket, and that will adjust the length of the shot and the scale of the shot. And if you put it here in the middle, it will adjust the scale of both shots. So worth noting is all of that. One more little trick that I'll show you, which is interesting. Okay, so now when we do this, if I go Control Alt and Shift and I adjust the scale of this, notice that even though it's slowed down and it plays back this way, this is done in green. And if it was a sped up scale, it would be done in red. And that shows me that this is offset from the underlying animation. When we look at the underlying animation, it actually expanded a bit. It got longer because the actual what's happening is that we have determined that we're going to apply this offset to it. There's something you can do which is called baking the timescale. And if you go into Edit Clip and say Bake Timescale, notice now that this is now the new normal. This is a 1.0. This is exactly standard speed for this clip now. And it also expanded the entire animation set. So I can adjust the time scale again by clicking and dragging, but it will be relative from 1. And that can be useful for a few things. When you're baking the time scale, you can say, okay, I'm done with this, I'm going to bake it, and that will tell you both visually and in the underlying animation set this is done. Another thing that it does, and this is my personal theory, is that it actually reduces a little bit of load on the source filmmaker, because when you bake the scale, it actually does all the calculations ahead of time to determine where the models are going to be, instead of doing it dynamically when it's being run. So that's another good reason for doing that. But don't bake the timescale until you're totally certain that you're ready for wherever it is and that it looks right to you. Okay. I think that is as far as we need to go for tonight's tip of the day. I will definitely be showing you some more about shot editing and setting lengths and so forth, and having some fun with that in the future. But for now, that has been your tip of the day number 60. As always, I appreciate it when you subscribe to my YouTube channel and for watching these videos and for all the great feedback. It is sincerely appreciated. I am your good friend Jimmer Lins. I look forward to bringing you your next tip of the day, and in the meantime, enjoy using Source Filmmaker.